All right, welcome back to art class. Today we're going to be doing a new project. This new project has to do with an item in art called Unity. And as we go along, I'm going to show you pictures that have an idea of Unity, where they take an object such as or a shape and they are repeating it over and over again to make sure that the whole picture kind of goes together. Unity is about making sure that a picture makes sense together. In our case, we're going to be using shapes, and that's what I'm going to be showing you with our examples as we go along. But we're also going to do it a little bit with color as well, where you have color showing up in a couple of different spots. Like let's say we pick yellow. Yellow would show up in a couple of spots kind of to make sure that the whole picture kind of goes together. If you just have yellow in one spot and it doesn't really make sense, then it can cause a picture to look a little weird. Okay, same thing with shapes. So ours is just going to be a design picture today, and you're going to need a few items. You're going to need a regular piece of paper. Okay, you're going to want to have a paper towel full size that you can stick your picture on top of like this. Okay, we'll use this in a little bit. I'm going to set it off to the side. You're going to want to have a pencil. You're going to want to have watercolors. You're going to want to have a crayons and a crayon box. Okay, and then you're going to need some water for the watercolors. If you don't have watercolors, you can do this assignment with markers, but it's going to have a better effect if you do it with watercolors. Then you're going to need a stencil. Remember, a stencil is just something that you trace, and there's a couple options I wanted to show you. You could do other stencils as well, but you could do a cup for a circle. Okay, so you get a nice circle. You could use a sticky note, which is a square. It's actually a 3 by 3 inch square. So that actually is a perfect size if you want to do a square. Or you could do like a crayon box. The crayon box is a rectangle, and it's not too much bigger than a sticky note. Okay? So it'll give you a nice rectangle shape. I don't have anything offhand that would work for a triangle, but that shape as well would work. I recommend keeping to the basic shapes and not going as complicated as a star. If you have an oval, that's probably a good shape to use as well. And all we're going to do is you're going to take your pencil and you're going to trace your stencil 10 times. And you can change its directions, so it can be diagonal. You can even have it go off the page a little bit. See, that's number 4 for me, and then I just need to go in and make sure my corners look good. This is one of the reasons why we're doing it in pencil, is so we can make those little adjustments. Let's see, I'm going to have it go this way. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I need one more. So I said 10 times. Okay, again, go fix your corners, clean up any extra marks you might have floating around. Okay, next, besides needing the crayon box for tracing, I actually need a specific color. We need black. Black is just a nice neutral color for outlining, and you're going to do a nice job tracing your line and actually doing it kind of hard. We want a nice solid black line so it looks good. And because we're working with watercolor, if you do a nice solid line, the watercolor tends to leak out of the space less. We kind of had some experience with that last year, but we're going to just kind of review it. If you see any areas that are a little light, like right here, that's a little light, so I'm gonna go back in and make that a little bit darker. A nice solid black line. We wanna make sure the corners close up. Make sure like these there, corner. Like that, okay. So you have a kind of a shattered picture look is kind of what it looks like. Okay, next, that's really all you need the colors for, so you can actually put your crayons away at that point. And you're going to want to have your paper towel. Paper towel is going to do a couple things for us. One, it helps us with the edges when we get close to painting any edges. And the other two is because computer paper and notebook paper have a tendency to be really thin, it helps keep it from sticking to the table when it shouldn't and absorb some of the extra color so it doesn't want to leak out the sides as bad. It can't stop it completely, but it will help reduce it a little bit. Put pencil off to the side and get my colors. And please remember, we are working with watercolors. And with watercolors, you have to add water. That's why they call them watercolors. You don't want to add too much water with these. If they get too watery, what's going to happen is they're going to want to leak out more. So when you're doing this, you only add a few drops, work it a little bit, and then paint, add a few more drops, work it, paint, things like that. Now I'll just kind of show you. So you always want to start with the lightest colors first when you're working with watercolors because it keeps your water cleaner. So the lightest color that we have in most trays is yellow. So I'm going to add a couple of drops of water to my yellow. And what I do is I kind of stir it a little bit, very carefully, very lightly, just to get the water worked into the paint material that's down here. Okay. I'm not grinding my brush. I'm actually just kind of stirring so that I get a good yellow. Okay. Then I'm going to find 3 spots that I want yellow to be. So here's spot number 1. Make sure you're painting with the tip of your brush, especially towards the edges because you can control a little bit better. And then fill it in. Okay, that's 1. Notice I'm not filling in a whole rectangle, I'm filling in where they overlapped. Stir it a little bit. I want 3 spots and they should not be next door to each other, they should be separate. So I'm going to do this corner piece yellow. Then I'm going to go to my next lightest color. So if you look at my shot piece here, this is orange. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple drops, stir it a little bit. And 3 colors for this one. I usually pick a different spot away from the other colors so that these can dry for a second before I move anything close to it. You can, as you are doing this project, if your paper is getting a little too wet and you're afraid that the colors might mix when they're not supposed to, let it sit for about 15 minutes and then it will have dried a bit and then you can go back to working on it and finishing it up because we will be able to finish this whole thing today. This is a 1-week project. Next one, after you get your yellow and orange, you're a little bit more open to which one you do. I generally go to green. Okay, now each of my colors has been done 3 times. I have space left over, so I need to figure out what color I want to go there. I think I'm gonna rinse my brush out real well, and I think the yellow would look good right there. If you have extra spots, you can paint them pretty much whatever color you want. There is a limit. I do not want to see black or brown being used in this particular picture. They're just not going to really make a bright, happy, kind of stained glass look to it. We're going to want ours to be just a normal rainbow color area, okay? And this is it. There's nothing really hard about this lesson. Just making sure you trace really nicely, painting, taking your time. I need you to snap a photo of this after it dries. Let it dry a little bit and then upload it to Google Classroom like we normally would. Real quick before I let you go though, I do have a couple other ones. This is one I did a little bit earlier with squares. And I did one just a few minutes ago with circles. So they can all look really interesting depending on your shape. I have not done one with triangles yet, so that would be next on my list to do. Again, make sure you let it dry before you move on. Okay. We are going to leave the white background as is. You might take a pencil and erase any pencil lines. I got a couple that I need to get rid of once it dries. You want to wait till it dries before you do anything. Okay. And again, take a picture, upload it to Google Classroom, and I will see you next week.